Hi, this is Mariah Gullo from The Hollywood Reporter, and I have Tony Hale here from Veep.
Hello.
Hi, Tony.
Hello.
How are you?
Very well. Thank you for having me in this very warm loft New York set.
Thanks. You know, it's okay. It's good.
It's really okay.
So the last time I saw you was on the Men of Veep shoot for The Hollywood Reporter, and you were in full-on mime drag.
Yeah. And I loved this one because on the show they called me a bitchy mime. And I thought, well, this is appropriate.
That's great.
But my wife is a makeup artist, and she did all that makeup.
That's amazing.
She's the one who designed it, and like Martell, and like she used to be a makeup artist on Saturday Night Live, and so she brought her mad skills to that set.
That's wonderful. And what was this day like? Here's the whole crew.
Oh, that's so fun. See, we stopped shooting. End of February, and so I haven't seen. Well, I've seen them sometimes, but I haven't seen them much. And when I see a picture, I miss them. Everybody kind of did a clown, somewhat the version of their characters. My character is obviously emasculated, and he's pushed down. So we had me underneath the table, and I am obviously don't even have a life, so I'm just this kind of mime. Mm-hmm. And then Kevin's character was kind of the mad, mean guy, so he looked angry. Jonah was just the buffoon, so he's like screaming on the phone. Matt's kind of just the sweet clown, so if you notice, he's in the Kellyanne Conway pose on the couch. And then Reed's character is kind of an arrogant egomaniac who would be like, I'm not wearing makeup, so he just has like a little red. Yeah.
I would say from being on that set that day, the biggest reveals were Kevin's and yours. Like, everybody was just like, whoa!
I know. It's like a what was the word for Kevin's? It was like a
like a samurai.
Yes. But like an
very
angry
Rashomon.
Kind of, yes. You know all the good words. Yes.
So you're not one who shies away from having fun at the Emmys. What is Emmy night like for a cast member of Veep?
What's Emmy night like? I mean, I've said this a lot, but it is true. I've been doing this for over 20 years, acting, and kind of in LA for 14 of them. I still just kind of get excited about the party aspect of it all. Mm-hmm. Like it's fun to kind of get a tux, and my wife dresses up, and then the parties are just nuts. I mean, HBO throws this fantastic party, and the food is free, which is still thrilling for me.
Yes.
It's like a constant open bar. You know, because I love weddings. Weddings are my favorite thing to go to, and just because it's like just a fun night of dancing and drinking and eating and all this kind of stuff. And I feel like these parties, even though I don't know as many people as I know at a wedding, it's just kind of this like party atmosphere. And so I think that's what I will say. The parties are. The ceremony is a little more. Everybody's kind of buttoned up and like posturing and trying to. The camera's on you, so you're a little more, on show. And everybody's kind of not necessarily in their skin as much. It's a little bit like, hello, how are you? Oh, nice to see you again. Everything's kind of fancy. Mm-hmm. But then once that stops, it's still fun. And it's a fun show to watch. But then when you get to the parties, you can kind of relax.
You can relax.
Yeah.
And let your hair down. And I know you love a good buffet.
Oh, yes.
What's your favorite buffet food right now?
Great question. I would say I'm from the South, so I like a good Southern fried okra, mashed potatoes. Nice. I like some chicken and waffles, but I like the all-you-can-eat where you can just know that it's never going to stop. Mm-hmm. I like a good cruise ship buffet. I like because there's a lot of options and there's different themes, and I can go to whatever buffet I'd like. It sounds incredibly just gross and gluttonous.
Yes, like the never-ending ice cream bar, right?
Oh, come on. Like some kind of yogurt machine with like any topping you can want at any time of the day. It's like just a constant TCBY in your face all the time.
All right, HBO events, take note.
Yeah, yogurt machines.
These are what we want.
Yes.
You went up with Julia 5 years ago when she received her Emmy.
5 years ago?
That was 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So wait a minute.
I need to think about that. Okay.
2013.
Yeah, it was 2013.
4 years ago.
Well, yeah, but close. It'll be. Yeah. No, yeah.
Okay.
4 years, but still, it doesn't seem like 4 years ago.
How did you think that was going to go over? Were you nervous about doing that?
Well, I was kind of nervous and overwhelmed. I'm still overwhelmed, and the whole thing is very overwhelming. And I've said this before, and it is true. It's to this day a list I never thought I'd be invited to. So it's still like, wait, why is my name on that list? So it's still overwhelming. But that was the very first year that I, just was a blessing to be nominated. So I kind of came in there, and then that morning of the ceremony, she calls me and she's like, "So I'm thinking if I win, I want you to come carry my purse on stage." And of course, I'm just like, "Yeah, sure." And then I think about it, and I'm like, "You are gonna win, and I'm gonna have to do that." And then I started thinking, what if everybody's just looking at me like, "Why the hell is this guy jumping up with your purse?" And so like then the just what ifs started entering my head. But once I called her name, and I was like, "All right, game on." And so I went up there. Then it just kind of became live theater, and it was really fun. Really fun.
You have a very special relationship with Julia Louis-Dreyfus because you guys your characters are connected emotionally and physically.
Yeah.
What is it like to kind of have that kind of a relationship with somebody where you have to do all, like, are you doing a lot of physical blocking together and rehearsing?
Oh yeah, that's a great question, because the writers give us this fantastic foundation to play in. They gave us the playground, and then when we get on set, when we get into a scene, that to me is my favorite part, because that's the time that Julia and I look at each other. Like, for instance, if we're here and say, "Okay, so you and Selena are in this scene, and you're sitting in chairs, and this is the dialogue," and we're like, okay, and then we get on set, I'm like, how can we do something with these chairs? Like, what physicality can we come up with to up the ante of funny? You know, it's like, how can I screw up trying to put your coat on? How can I screw up with giving you a chair that's too high or I make it too low, or something like that, just to try to find the physicality. And that's the thing that I really look forward to. And it's the great thing is, with this team that I'm so fortunate to work with, there's just a trust. There's a trust that if I'm feeling, or if one of us is feeling like something's not working, you know that there's going to be the other person going, if they don't totally hear you and totally don't, even if they don't get it, there's a, hey, let's try to find that space that you think is missing, you know. And so that's, rather than the answer of like, I don't know what you're talking about, let's just keep going on. You know, it's like everybody's open to kind of each other and trusting each other's instincts, that they can instinctually think this can be better, you know.
Does that have a lot to do with all of the rehearsal time that you
know, yeah, I mean, we did a lot of rehearsal in the beginning. Over time, it's not as much rehearsal, but we did a lot of rehearsal in the beginning. But on set, they definitely allow time to, because if you've seen the show, it's this kind of very organized chaos where people are coming in and leaving, and then you want to come in right at the beat of the if there's a comic moment to make, you want to make sure that the timing matches up to that moment, and then you're leaving, and so it's just there's constant this dance going on. So they allot that time to find the rhythm of that dance, you know, which is a huge gift.
Yes. Let's talk about a particular episode in season 6, Judge. That's the episode where you go home for your birthday.
Yeah.
And we get to meet Gary's family.
Pain in that episode.
Yeah. Are you okay?
It was hard. No. Yeah, that was that was really, really fun. It was fun to kind of see what the writers brought out about Gary's history. That I hadn't heard bits, but I didn't know to that extent, like the relationship I had with my mom, played by Jean Smart, which was like
amazing.
A tremendous gift to work with. Yeah. And there was one moment where she's whispering in Selinas' ear as I'm whispering in Selinas' ear, and then I said, "Oh, I got that from my mother," you know. And then just the pain of the relationship with the dad, and
by Stephen Root, who's also amazing.
Who's fantastic. And then there's, you know, it was a really fine. We walked a tight, I don't know the word, like a fine line to not make it like a Tennessee Williams play.
Right.
You know, because it could get really dark. It could
get
really
very
fast.
Southern Gothic.
Yeah, really Southern Gothic. And and David Mandel, the showrunner, always was like, and I would do something, that one scene where I kind of lose it in the end, I would do it and it would be too extreme, and he'd be like, we're getting too heavy here. We gotta balance it with the funny, and the way that he would balance it is Julia, her character Selena, would do comments in the midst of my freak out. So I would say, like, I know a secret about you. You're like, because there was his sexuality, my father's sexuality in the show is questioned. Like, you don't know where he's coming from. And so and Gary, my character, screaming at him like, I know your secret. It's that you're, I can't remember what I said, like a jerk or something. And then Selena's back there going, nah, that's not it. You know, it's like it was a balance of the heaviness and the funny.
Yeah. And he had a real moment of clarity too when he's watching Selena tell his story, and you had this look on your face that was like, I get it. She is a terrible person. And then it pulls back again, and you're like back into the hero worship.
Or just the codependent dysfunction, domestic abuse situation, or office abuse situation it is.
Yeah. A question from one of our writers here. This season, did you interpret Selena and Gary's relationship as having romantic potential? It seemed like with the sleepover episode, and the birthday episode.
I think Gary always looks to the potential of a romantic situation. I think that's his absolute dream, that one day they're going to walk down the aisle together. It's just when it actually manifests and when a situation arises that it could happen, like when she's in bed with me, I think he's just like, today's the day. Today's the day that my dreams are coming true. You know, when he puts his arm over her and he's like, yep, this is happening. This is happening. So I think it's always on the front of his mind that she's going to wake up to the relationship that she can have with me. So, and it's never going to happen.
No.
In Gary's world, it's going to happen. In her world, she doesn't even know his last name.
Right. How did you react when you read the script for the finale? Are you excited that Selena's getting back in the game?
Personally, I am, because this is an actor. Gary, there was a scene, what was it? Was it the pilot of, or what, not the pilot, was it the first episode of the season, but when she says, I'm going to run to president privately to Gary, and in his face, he's just like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. But it's so mixed with, please don't do this to yourself. Please don't. He doesn't want to walk through the dysfunction of that. You know, it's like, he doesn't want her to walk through the dysfunction of that. Of just everything for her, that kind of a person to go through the presidential campaign. So I don't think he's thrilled about it, but then there's the other side of it. Is like, hey, it's 4 more years next to her side, and that's like his nirvana.
Right.
And that's really his only identity.
Right. You know, we don't want her running away to the Middle East.
No.
So what do you think her chances are of winning?
Well, in the current political, I mean, it's like,
that's what I'm saying. I think our chances are getting better and better.
I mean, it's, the fact is, Selena, like, she spends it, like, she knows how to spend something. This is what's fascinating to me, though, is she is such a master of words, and she knows even if things are going nuts and crazy, she can like. She can go in front of the camera and just spin it to make her look like an angel, or make her come out on the good side. Whereas Gary, behind her, he has no poker face. So like if she's like trying to save face and stuff, he's behind her going, oh, you know, right behind her and on the cameras. So if Gary is the one who really needs to learn how to like watch his nonverbal,
right?
You know, but I think I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if she, I don't know.
I think we are working with a reality now where people can survive way more scandals than they used to.
And spin it. That's the thing. Just like the power of spinning
spin it
something.
To the base.
That's what's scary about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Where people just forget about a history that somebody had or what they said, or they just kind of just check out from it, and then I don't know. That's what freaks me out the most.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to anything for season 7? Or do you have any hopes for what might happen? Or do you want to see anything kind of evolve?
I mean, I loved kind of history of someone's, like Gary's home life and all that kind of stuff. I just love hearing more about what's in the minds of where they think these characters have been. I mean, as an actor, I do love. I love Selena being back in politics because I love a person like that who is so broken, and my character's so broken, and we're a bunch of Keystone cops. Even though I don't like it in reality, I love it in fiction, being put in such high stakes of the top government,
right?
You know, of the state, of like the United States, and just to see them just flail around and make these decisions that they don't know what I mean, I love the comedy of that. I don't like it in a realistic situation, but I love the comedy of it. You know?
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity for some crazy shenanigans.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you about advice that you've gotten from your family, because I know that you've spoken a lot about your daughter and about your wife.
Yeah.
Can you tell me any good pieces of advice that they've given you?
Yes. Let me think. There's a lot. My wife she's the opposite of me. She's very, I consider myself a little bit erratic, and she's very level-headed. I think just the value of being where we are and just kind of not thinking too far ahead. I think in this business you can what if yourself to death. And because there's a strong uncertainty in the career, obviously, and you don't know how this is going to unfold. And especially my wife, definitely, but my daughter, just being young and being so in the moment, that it forces me to be in the moment. And it's just that sense of like, why am I creating something in my head 6 months from now? And I don't know if that's going to happen, but what good is that doing for me now? And just staying here, and just even if I find myself having to touch the chair or anything, it's like we're having this conversation. That's where I am now. So that's what family constantly does, and also the fact of we're spending on a planet. It's like don't take yourself too seriously.
Right.
It's like this stuff it's fleeting, and I'm giving it a lot of anxiety and a lot of attention sometimes and a lot of weight. But I don't. Anybody who even I want to value what I'm doing. I want to have excellence in what I'm doing, but I can't take it too seriously because it's just I don't think it's supposed to be taken that seriously. Yeah.
And what is the worst piece of advice you've gotten? And that can come from anybody.
Yeah, sure. Ooh. The worst piece of advice? Oh, let me think. There was. I remember when I was starting out in New York, and I don't know if. Yeah, I remember I was doing commercials, and I was trying to find. It took me 7 years to find an agent to send me out for TV and film, because they just kind of saw me as a commercial actor. And I remember going to this certain agent and interviewing with them, and he pretty much said to me, if you're not, he said something like, if you're not built like a brick house and kind of fitting into that all-American look, you're gonna have a very difficult time, and I can't work with you because I'm not. He's like pretty much saying, if I can't put you on like something like an all-American kind of Dawson Creek like show, if I don't, then you might as well just stick with commercials or stick in the core. And and at that time I was like, oh shit, that's a bummer because I'm not that. But then, that's what's crazy is embracing your uniqueness, embracing your history, embracing your pain, embracing all that stuff. That's what sets you apart. And actually, if you try so hard to fit in, there's 1,000 of those fitting in things, but your uniqueness nobody else can do. And yeah, you might not get the part for what's fit for that other thing, but there's plenty of opportunities for a uniqueness that I bring to the table or somebody else brings to the table. And I think embracing that uniqueness, So but it's a bummer that I gave it so much power, but looking back I'm like, I will say, I recently got the question of if you could give yourself a piece of advice in your 20s, now that you've learned now, and I would say definitely this business says to you, you have value when this happens. You're only as good as your last job. If you get with this agent, if you get this film, if you get this TV show, if you get this, that's when you'll have value. I don't think they say it, but there's a subconscious kind of vibe about that. And I would say you have to understand that your value before and after success stays the exact same. That does not change. It's to say your personal value, your value is the exact same.
Right.
And that you can't, keep your ego in check. But it's also like the value, don't define it. Like, especially before, like, no, I can't look to that for value.
Right.
It's going to stay the consistent same.
Right. Right. Be authentic.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to wrap it up, I have a couple of questions that we asked Matt Walsh. So I wanted to ask you the same thing.
I love Matt Walsh.
Can you think of one scandal Selina Meyer could never recover from?
Oh. Well, there's a secret her and I have about something that happened on Labor Day that our characters have.
That's right.
It's pretty dark. Something really dark happened.
Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is. And I feel like that was pretty dark, and she's recovered from it. So I don't know if she murdered somebody. I don't know if I murdered somebody for her. But the only thing I think, if she maybe murdered somebody on camera or something like that was I don't know.
Right.
Because she's spent a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, man.
Labor Day is that's
there's
her,
something
rosebud.
really, really dark happened, and she still spent it. So she's pretty good at it.
Yeah. And the last question is, if Gary could take a job in the Trump administration, what would it be?
Oh my gosh.
What do you think would be appropriate for him?
I think maybe he'd be the hugger. I think he should be paid to be the hugger, where he can just. I think there's a lot of ego. There's a lot of pain. I think there's a lot of wounds, and he would just go around and maybe soften some of those edges of just hugging, and then not trying to fix them, not trying to change them, but just like hugging them, or just maybe putting his arm around them.
Yeah.
And then maybe that'll soften some of the edges. Gary would be good at that.
I think every president could use a hugger to go with them.
Yeah, so that should be on the pay scale.
Tours.
Put them on the payroll.
Well, Tony, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. That was fun.
Bye.
Bye, guys.